Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring, and a very special video. Those of you who have followed my channel for a while will know that I have been gradually, slowly, far too slowly some would say, working my way through a full restoration of a classic copy of HeroQuest. And finally, I can say it's done, it is finished. And in this video today, I'm going to show you the final result. I picked up this copy of HeroQuest on eBay and it was in a mess. It was missing rules books, it was missing some miniatures, every single furniture element was broken, some of the miniatures that were there were badly painted, and it was even missing a couple of cards. So the first thing I did was I had to go onto eBay and I had to source all of the missing components. And then it was a process of fixing and repairing. I had to strip and paint every miniature, I had to fix up and repaint every piece of furniture, I had to repair many of the cardboard components, and I had to do a significant amount of repair work on the box itself. And all of those trials and tribulations are documented on my channel in my HeroQuest playlist. You can go back to day dot and you can go step by step through this process and everything that it took to get where we are today. But I thought people who had already followed me through that journey might like to see exactly where we ended up. So I guess, without any further ado, let's open the box and take a look at what I achieved. The first thing to notice is the contents of my box are actually sitting higher than the box itself, and that is because I splurged on a Feldherr insert because HeroQuest deserves it. So underneath the board, and the board I should point out is one of the few things that I didn't actually do any repair work on. It was actually in pretty good condition. It's starting to show its age a little bit. You can see where it has been folded and unfolded many times. There is a little bit of wear and tear on the paper, but other than that, the board was pretty much as you would expect it to be, and I didn't need to do anything on that at all. But underneath, we have a number of components sitting on top of our Feldherr tray, and this is something that's quite common with Feldherr trays. I have 4 different products that are for storing board game elements, and in each case the focus on the tray itself is protecting the miniatures and the cards, and then the larger components just sit on top. As you can see, I have positioned my Dungeon Master screen along the bottom, and then I have placed the other elements in the voids on the left and right, and then we have the 2 manuals in the middle. That's the rules book and the mission book. Underneath that we have our foam topper, and then we have the rest of the glorious goodness that is HeroQuest. So here's a slightly zoomed in shot of the Feldherr tray, and you can see that all of the compartments are cut specifically for particular items. So we're going to very quickly go through each compartment in the tray. You can see where everything is supposed to sit, and I will bring to your attention any particular notes that may be relevant to you if you are planning on getting one of these inserts for yourself. First of all, along the bottom here we have these oval shaped recesses, and they are for the frames that the doors sit into. If you have glued your doors into the stands, first of all, why the heck have you done that? But secondly, this insert is not going to be of any use to you. You will not be able to get doors glued into their stands anywhere in this tray. The actual cardboard elements for the doors are stored up here. We have the closed doors and the open doors. And all of the other tokens, that's the stairwell, the traps, the secret doors and the rock piles, they all go in this slot here. Next we have our 2 bookcases and our wardrobe in these large recesses. And then next to it we have the sorcerer's table. I made candlesticks for my sorcerer's table that are actually taller than the original candlesticks that came with the game because my candlesticks were broken, a very common fault with HeroQuest. Because my candlesticks are so tall, I have to remove them from the table in order to fit them into that recess. I believe the original candlesticks, being a little bit shorter, do fit without having to be removed, but that is something you will need to check for yourself. If they do sit just a bit too high and you have glued them into the table, then you may have a problem. Next up we have a mystery slot. There is nothing in here and there is nothing to go in here. I don't know why it's there. But next to it we have the tomb, and then we have the alchemist table here. The alchemist table has a set of scales which sits on the top. The set of scales does sit above the top of the Feldherr frame, so if you have glued those scales in place, again you may have a problem with this tray. Fortunately, mine is a separate element, so I can just place it in that compartment with it. Maybe that's what this little slot is for here. Maybe it's for the scales, I don't know. Next we have the torture rack, which does fit very nicely with the handles attached, so you don't need to keep removing those. We then have a compartment for the playing cards, and you can see that even though they are sleeved, they do fit nicely in the insert. For reference, the sleeves that I have used are from Sleeve Kings, and they are Yucatan 54x80 sleeves. As you can see, they fit really nicely, and they're 60 microns, so they're not the thickest in the world, but they are more than good enough. Next up, we have a compartment for the dice. If you have more dice than originally came in the game, you can squeeze a few more in there, but after that you may need to start putting them in this extra little compartment here, or dropping them into some of the other compartments. We have the little throne above it, and then we have 3 treasure chests here, and one of the tables lying sideways. Next up we have the fireplace over here, and then we have the second table in a completely different orientation to the first one. The last item of furniture is the weapon rack, which lies down in this large central recess. After that you are into storing your miniatures, and again some of the compartments are for specific miniatures. First of all, the Barbarian is supposed to go in this long slot here because of the way he is holding his sword. He will not fit in any of the other compartments. The Gargoyle, of course, being as big as it is, needs to go in this large central recess here. Next you have the Chaos Sorcerer, you have 2 Chaos Warriors, 3 Femurs lying down, 2 more Chaos Warriors, and then the Elf over there. The rest of the compartments are all the same size, so you can position things how you want there, but I have my 4 skeletons, my mummies, my zombies, my orcs, my goblins, and then we have the wizard and the dwarf at the end. The dwarf, of course, being very short, is ducked down and hiding, and you cannot see him in this shot. But that's how everything is stored in the box, and I'm very happy with that. But of course, we want to see what it looks like on the table, so let's do that. Besides the core set, I also have the first 2 expansions, that is Keller's Keep and the Return of the Witch Lord. And because in Europe those were sold in tuck boxes, and quite often those tuck boxes were damaged or thrown away, my 2 expansions do not have the original packaging. So I purchased Feldherr boxes for them, or to be more specific, my wife purchased Feldherr boxes for them for me for Christmas. I have already done a video showing how those 2 expansions fit in these Feldherr boxes, so I'm not going to go over that again here. Just know that I do have those 2 expansions. They are not currently painted. And I think that's a nice way to segue into the final part of this video, where I talk about what is next for me in HeroQuest. Is this the end of the journey? Is the adventure over? Kinda yes, kinda no. An important thing to remember about HeroQuest, for me at least, is that much of my love for it is steeped in nostalgia. It is a love that dates back to that Christmas morning, the best Christmas morning ever, when I opened my brand new copy of HeroQuest and fell in love with dungeon adventuring. And as a child, I only played the core game and the expansions Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord. I never had the dungeon creation kit, I never had Wizards of Morcar. I never had Against the Ogre Horde. And of course, being in Europe, I never even really knew about Barbarian Quest and Elf Quest at the time. So really, I have everything that I fell in love with as a child. I have my restored core game. I have 2 complete expansions, Keller's Keep and Return of the Witchlord, which at some point I will get around to painting. One of the main reasons I haven't got around to painting it yet is because painting is obviously quite time consuming, and as I run this channel I like to put as much of what I paint on the channel as possible. And Keller's Keep and Return of the Witchlord only have miniatures that are also available in the core set, and I have already done painting guides for all of those. That means those miniatures will fall down the queue and other things that I can put on the channel will be put ahead of them. But yes, at some point I would like to get paint on all of those expansions as well. But the point is, I have all of those things that I loved as a child. Do I want the other expansions? Again, the answer is kind of yes and kind of no. As a completionist, I would very much like to add Wizards of Morcar and Against the Ogre Horde to my set, but I don't have that same connection to those expansions, and those expansions are incredibly expensive. Now of course I could go online and buy 3D prints of things, I can download all of the files and make my own copies of those expansions, but that's not really what I'm about here on this channel. I like to have the original components, I like to restore original components and use the original components. It is very, very rare that I will replace an original component or use something that isn't an original. So yes, while I could put together those expansions, I'm not excited to do it that way. That's not what really motivates me in my hobby. So sure, if I can eventually get them at a decent price, or I come into a lot of money and I can afford to purchase them at higher prices, I'm sure I will. The kit for creating your own adventures, again, it would be nice as a collector and a completionist to have a copy, but I'd never use it, and I have no real emotional connection to it. It would be just something to have in my set, in my collection. So at the moment, I'm not really in a position where I feel like I need to move on any of those expansions. Honestly, at the moment, I am more inclined to set aside money so that I can afford a copy of Elder Attack for Space Crusade. And as I mentioned before, because I am in the UK, I really don't feel like I want to add the American-only expansions to my set at all. I'd be more inclined to wait to see if they get produced by Hasbro for the new edition of HeroQuest. But at this point, I am perhaps babbling and most people have tuned out from what I have to say. So I should wrap up. HeroQuest for me was a passion project. It has been a long road, it has been a struggle at times to get things done, but I am so happy to have it all finished, the whole thing painted and the whole thing laid out in front of me. I will at some point look at getting some gameplay on the channel as well, because I know some people would like to see that. But for people who have already come this far with me, people who have joined me on this adventure, thank you so much. It really has been a pleasure to work on this classic game. And that, I guess, is really all I have to say about that for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.